Add host. There we go. I got it. Thank you so much. Izzo, invite. There you go, Izzo. There you go. Boom. Got Izzo.
Do we have this figured out?
Yes. Yes. One of.
Grown men can't figure out how to do an app.
So let me introduce Izzo to everybody. As you guys know, I have gone down this quest and I've changed my life to overturn Terry versus Ohio. The other day I saw a video with retired police officer Dominic Izzo. He made a video that exposed the truth about policing, that they literally are set up to create revenue and to harass us. And I did a duet of his video where I just kind of green screened him and I let Dominic talk. And so I want you guys all to welcome Dominic Izzo, and please do me a favor, pop over to his channel and follow him. Follow his Instagram and follow his TikTok. He is laying out the truth. So I got some really, I have a huge studio here, Izzo. I turned my office into a giant studio.
I saw some of your stuff and it's like, I obviously have, coming from my background, it's like I really want to be open-minded, and I admit it, I get defensive when people are like, oh, law enforcement was for this. I'm like, no, it's not, but I really, as time goes on, I want to start being more open-minded. And I want to really find out more about the research you've been doing because it looks extremely in-depth.
So what made you though, so everybody, this is Dominic Izzo, retired police officer. You were in Jersey? Were you a police officer?
No, I was in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. So the
area that's right.
I patrolled was in Milwaukee was here, Chicago was here, we were right here. So all the element they chased out, we got.
Okay, so retired police officer Dominic Izzo is explaining that where he worked was between Chicago and Milwaukee. So he was dealing with a lot of gang activity and things like that. So you came out the other day, you made a video and you were like, hey, look, you know, police, it's an harassment organization. So what made you decide that you were gonna come out and make these statements? Because, you know, I've read the Mullen Commission, I've read the Wickersham, I've read the Knapp. You put yourself in direct opposition of people who can do damage to you.
I've been doing this for years. I retired from law enforcement in 2019. I went to war with my department in 2016, and they wound up terminating me, and it took 3 years to get reinstated, and then I retired.
Slow down. So why did you get terminated?
So we had our body cameras. I was golden boy for my department. I was a yes sir. So my credentials, I got sworn in March of 2001. I was with 2 other departments, all in the Round Lake area in Illinois. We have everything from a mix of all types of people. You have the balance between, you know, your sleepy town, but then again, shots fired, gangs, stabbing, shootings, lots of drugs. And I love law enforcement. I love the ideal of it. My background is I was an FTO, field training officer, NIPAS mobile field force, so there are Illinois' version of SWAT, defensive tactics instructor, use of force trained, juvenile officer, fiduciary for our pension board, union president. I loved law enforcement.
So let me ask you a question. Let me jump in. Let me ask you a question. So you loved law enforcement. So what specifically about it did you love? Was it the power? Was it the administration? Was it being in charge of others?
100%. So the power does come with it. And anybody who says it's not about the badge is full of shit. That little star in your back pocket is the biggest addiction on the planet. I can speed anywhere I want. I can get into sporting events, or I can get into bars without having to pay cover. I get to have the, if you and I are in a bar, right? And if I was younger and I had a little bit of hot head, and we got into an argument, I could look at you and say, I'm a cop. What are you gonna do?
Nothing.
Right? So it is so stupid, the power. But we had an incident in our area back in 2015. It was called the G.I. Joe Glenowitz issue. A Fox Lake police lieutenant wound up. It's a very, very long debacle, which my department had corruption in. A cop at the time, we thought that a lieutenant was gunned down by 3 suspects. That brought our immediate area, community close. It was amazing. I went into
what community though? The policing community or the community of
everybody.
So there was a shooting in Fox Lake. Okay.
Right, everybody, the village, the community, the people, the public, Thank you
Wow.
for your service.
Wow.
I wound up going online that day, and I did a video in October of 2015 on what it really means when you thank a police officer, and it went viral. And I talked about community, and I talked about togetherness, and I talked about that if you're a cop, it doesn't matter if it's a barking dog call or if it's a shots fired call, your level of expectation to be the best version of yourself is high.
Right.
That got me social media instant fame. I started doing videos. I was put in documentaries. The BBC did an interview with me, all this shit. I realized then and there that I do have the authority to keep the shit off the street, so to speak. But my God, you know, when you look at it, the town I policed in was very poor. And I started to think, you know, maybe I make 90 grand a year, but that's 3-4 times what these people make.
Right.
And I started to think, I'm not a god. You know, so I went through a big change of, I loved what my responsibility was. And that was to keep the peace and maintain order in a free society. But I started to see shit that we did that I went, holy cow, I've been fucking with people for almost 2 decades. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but I don't know if I can swear. I'm sorry about
That's okay. So you would consider yourself like an A personality, like an alpha male, like someone who's naturally a little more aggressive, physical. You look like a very strong guy. So would you consider yourself someone who's athletic and fit?
100%. I'm a Sigma male, which has the same traits of Alpha, but I don't like dealing with anybody, and that means including most police officers. I was not the guy who went out with the others to drink after shift. I would self-alienate. I'm an introvert, all this. I like it because I've been... defensive tactics is one of my favorite areas, but I do know that the better you're trained, you don't have to use it.
Right.
That's the number one reason I speak out all the time against use of force.
Yeah.
Use of force, and the reason police brutality is because we have such insecure, bad, trained cops. It's the biggest issue out there. We have police officers who they hire. They don't hire. They try to. And it's a whole. We could talk about this for days. But they hire such a piss poor candidate, and they're afraid to do their job. They're given tools that don't work all the time. I hate the taser.
Right.
I hate the taser.
Right.
They're too reliant on their pistol. You don't get good quality of cops. Now, one of the reasons I was really great as a cop was I was a bartender for a very long time. So I knew how to talk to people. I knew customer service. You don't get cops who know how to talk to people. So instead of, sir, license and insurance, please, I would go up, hey, this is Officer Izzo with the Round Lake Park Police Department. You got a heavy foot, man.
Right.
Give me your license. Give me 5 minutes. I'm going to write you a warning. I'll get you the hell out of here.
Right.
I police like that all the time, and I got shit for it. But community policing requires a candidate that they're bringing in, and they're bringing in a lot of people who are power hungry because they're easy to control. So
Well,
we can talk about this for
I mean, Izzo, it's my perspective, and a lot of people who follow this channel, it's my perspective that people who sign up to be police, typically a lot of them were either super athletes when they were young or they were the reject in high school. And so you get this mix of 2 different kinds of people in policing. And it's from my perspective of studying police, that's the interconsternation of policing, constantly being worried about other cops turning you in. It's always an inner fight. When I walk up to cops, I try to talk them out of being a cop instead of just being cruel to them. But, you know, I want to try to stay as focused as I can.
I bet they don't listen. I bet they don't listen to you at all.
Never. No, I'm a pariah to them. I'm an idiot. I'm all these things. But I talk about something really specific on this channel. My shirt says Overturn Terry, because what I talk about specifically is that Terry v. Ohio is the tip of the spear that allows police to walk up and open an investigation on you. And once you open that investigation, so let me get a basic broad stroke from you, because you have a lot more insight about policing than I ever will, because I'll never do that. But is the Terry versus Ohio Terry stop, is it being massively abused?
There is nothing you can do that I cannot find a reason to stop you, search you, cite you, or arrest you. And it's all based on the order of something that's done to how we articulate in our reports. I'll give you an example. I'm extremely moral, meaning that, you know, I've got my issues.
Sure.
I've got scumbag tendencies. I've got narcissistic tendencies.
We all do.
But I remember in 2003, I was behind a guy looking to stop him, and I wanted to stop him. I knew he was a gang member. I wanted to see what was in his car, but he gave me no probable cause to stop him. He was doing nothing.
Right.
I thought to myself, I can't really see his seatbelt, but then again, I can't see that he's not wearing it. And I asked myself, you know what? If you pull him over for not wearing a seatbelt, which I don't know if he was or not, I couldn't articulate it, where does it stop, right? And that's it. The bottom line is, with Terry versus Ohio, if you don't have probable cause and reasonable suspicion, there's nothing that a cop can do or can't do when they stop you to find the reasonable suspicion or probable cause during the investigation. So you could be walking down the street, right? I'll give you an example. The town I worked in didn't have sidewalks. It was a very old town.
Right.
Didn't have sidewalks, didn't have street lights, right? So you could be walking down the street 2 o'clock in the morning. Is there anything illegal about walking down the street 2 o'clock in the morning?
No, there's nothing illegal about doing that.
But I could say, there's two things that could happen. I could go, hey, hey, what's going on? How's things? How are you? Most people don't know. They don't have to answer police.
Right.
So if you're not answering me, right, which you have every lawful reason to do, I can still go, now I can go, hey, come here for a second. Now I'm seizing you, right?
Right.
Now that's a seizure.
Right.
But is that legal? It's not legal. But I can say in my report, subject was walking down the street, was stumbling because there's no sidewalk and uneven pavement.
Right.
Appeared to be intoxicated, and for public safety reasons, I initiated a stop. He was wearing all dark clothing. There's no street lights. I was doing public service to make sure he wasn't hit by a car or putting other pedestrians in harm's way. It does not matter. From the time the stop is done until the report is written, the facts and the evidence must be there, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be in the order the way the cops found them.
So you can articulate what. So I've been following this guy on YouTube called Street Cop Lessons or something like that, and this guy just lays out in just the most, like you are now today. So then what you're saying is, when you saw the guy walking down the street, your initial interaction with him, you see someone walking down the street. This is a high crime area, Cortez or whatever you want, right? But
I can stop him.
when you do stop him, just make it me. I'm walking down the street. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and you say, "Hey, I'm going to stop this guy." Is that called a Terry stop?
Yeah, well, yes, you're going to justify it as a Terry stop.
So it's a Terry stop.
Terry stop, suspicion. So a Terry stop has to have legality, right? It has to have reason, probable cause or reason.
Well, you just laid it out, though. You said I was stumbling. I was walking on the corner of the sidewalk, so I could be hit by a car. I'm wearing dark clothes. Do you guys hear what he's saying? This is the reasonable suspicion, how cops can literally then grab you, put you in handcuffs, and if you don't answer the maze of questions properly, you're going to the dungeon, my friends. And if you don't comply with this man, he could kill you legally, because you didn't comply. And remember, he stopped you because you were walking down the road. He stopped you because he thinks you're a gang member. He just said it. Dominic just said he sees someone, he's sure they're a gang member. He's created these reasonable, articulable facts in his head that that person's a gang member. And so then when he stops him, to be clear, he has no evidence against this man. He's literally driving down the road or walking down the road, and then the police fill in the facts. Well, you know, this and well that, well this. And so Dom, now if I'm walking down the street, you pull over, you say there's no shoulder, he's wearing dark clothes, he's stumbling, and I'm a constitutional law expert. So then that happens to me, and then after that happens to me and you put me in cuffs for my safety, right? Which you're putting a guy who teaches MMA in cuffs, and I'm pissed.
For my safety.
Right.
My safety.
Right. Right. So then after that, so we're going to stop here and we're going to continue down the story, but I want to get it in segments because a lot of people don't believe me. So now once you're suspicious of me for walking down the street, you've Terry stopped me. You've said I have reasonable articulable suspicion. I'm just not going to tell him what it is right now. First, I'm going to do my investigation. Then I'll tell him what it is. So the first step is you look at me, you go, man, this guy's got mangled ears. He might teach MMA. So the first step that you do is what?
I'm going to pat you down for weapons.
Right.
Now there's a difference between, this is a lot of what people don't know either. There's a difference between a pat down for weapons and a search.
Yeah.
Unless I put you in cuffs, rights? No. Questioning plus custody equals Miranda. So I can put you in handcuffs. I don't have to read you Miranda. Right?
Repeat that. Questioning, say it again.
The formula for Miranda warnings is custody plus questioning outside of what's your name, what's your birthday, basic questions. If I ask you, where are you coming from? What are you doing? That's beyond the scope of seizure, and I have to read you your Miranda rights. But if I put you in handcuffs, I don't have to read your Miranda. But if you're not free to leave, right? Well, it's even better than that. Maybe I don't put you in handcuffs, right? Are you still seized if you're not free to go anywhere?
Yeah.
If I start asking you questions, I have to read your Miranda.
Right.
Very simple. The aspect between a search and a pat down for weapons, this is where a lot of people don't realize. If you and I are both patrol officers, you've got 1 year, I've got 15. I can stop you and I can do a pat down for weapons. Now, if I go over the outside of your clothes and I crush the material and it's clearly soft, it's a baggie, it's crunching, you, as the new officer, cannot go in that pocket to pull out the bag of drugs. You can't. I can, because my training and my experience has had enough time on the job to be able to articulate. Based on my training and experience and years of service, I recognize this crushable component as a baggie of narcotics and pull it out. Then it becomes a seizure and it becomes a search. Now we can search the rest of you. There is so much that the public just doesn't know. It blows me away. And they're even worse. There's so much cops don't know. There's so much.
Oh yeah. So now we're in the I want to keep the audience so they can follow along. I was walking down the street, you seen me, you pulled over, and so you immediately pat me, and now I say I'm not answering any questions. I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Do I immediately go into handcuffs from there?
When you piss off a cop, 100%.
So as soon as I tell you I don't want to answer any questions, I'm invoking my.
You have to remember, and I'm going to say this conservatively, it's an ego. For police officers, we are always going to find a way to win on the streets. If you're smart, you will take us all the way to violating your civil rights, and most cops don't understand this. If a cop is convicted of violating somebody's civil rights, that's 2 years in federal prison. They don't get it. When I went to a use of force training class, and the instructor asked a room of 30 seasoned police officers, how many of you have ever used the phrase, shut your mouth or you're about to go in handcuffs? All of us have. He goes, congratulations, dumbasses. You can get a murder suspect who's holding a gun, who just shot his wife. Tell him, shut your mouth or you're about to go in handcuffs. He says, okay, you slap the cuffs on him. The defense lawyer is going to get him off because you arrested him for speaking, violating his First Amendment rights. I went, holy shit. I can't believe I've been saying that for fucking years.
Right, but that only happened. Now, if you did that in 1996, right? You tell me shut my mouth, you're going in handcuffs. If I shut my mouth, you put me in handcuffs, there was no video. So I tell my lawyer, he told me to shut up, I'm going in handcuffs. Do I have any recourse at all from there? So before the digital era, before there were body cams, if you told me to shut my mouth and put me in cuffs, did I have any recourse before there was a camera on scene?
Maybe I have to swear under oath I did tell you that, but at what point did I tell you that? So it's all going to be, again, remember, you got the evidence and the facts.
Right.
But where did I choose to put it in my report to put in the story?
And how many times do police slightly nudge their report to make sure that it's going to fit the narrative that was created?
It is lawful. It happens all the time. It happens because it's still fact. It's still evidence. One of the things that departments started to do was like with our department, we were like, I was a very big DUI enforcer. I've arrested police officers for DUI. They are the worst. Just to let you know, the number one abuser of DUI laws is cops. 100% cops. I challenge anybody to prove me wrong. That being said, you at one point, it's like some states don't allow cops to review their body camera footage as they're writing the report because they want to see if this matches what this said. So there's a lot of integrity that's being challenging questions on there. But again, you have the facts and the evidence and how they align. Do they fit the narrative? And remember, it's not that police lie. They manipulate facts and evidence to make it fit their narrative. I think it's actually worse than a lie.
So then once the police officer fills out a sheet with facts and narratives against me and says that I said something or he asked me where I was going and I answered even though I invoked my rights, body cam wasn't on, what's my recourse to a false police report if it's not caught on video?
None.
So
you're good luck. Good luck trying to get the report through FOIA. They'll screw you over for weeks and months trying to get it. Your lawyer, it's probably going to be way too much work for lawyers. How many lawyers don't want to go after shit like that?
Right.
People don't get. I'm very passionate about law enforcement and actually getting back on the right track. But if people knew how bad the command staff was, some states have district and some states have state's attorneys. If they understood the relationship, how bad that was, if they understood how bad the state's attorney between the defense attorney was and the lawyer and the judges that are prosecuting, the street cops, everybody blames them for the shit. But the higher up you go, the worse it gets.
So I just want to do a little quick segue here. If you guys are familiar with my YouTube channel, Delete Laws with a Z, I did a 15-minute video where I explained that behind every bad cop, we need a checks and balances system on cops. We need a checks and balances system on city leaders, mayors, governors, city council members, superintendents of policing. And what Dominic Izzo, retired police officer out of Chicago, Milwaukee area, what he's saying is that the corruption, if this is policing, and this is a third-party agency that collects all the body cam footage, because Dom just said you're never going to get it through FOIA. And then this agency here, the third party, would oversee district attorneys, judges, superintendents of police, city councils, mayors. We don't have anybody on the inside. Behind every bad shoot, behind every abusive situation where a cop beats, hurts, or kills someone, there is a bad administrator. There's a bad superintendent, there's a bad mayor, there's a bad city council. So thanks, I appreciate that, Dom.
Don't forget, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Hey, a lot of people think, hey, you're just disgruntled and you're pissed off.
Right.
100%.
Right.
My passion was serving my community. My last police chief was never a cop. He was a dispatcher. He was appointed to chief of police. Phenomenal salesman, manipulated the mayor and the village council of our town. He made it all the way to Lake County Major Crimes Task Force to investigate the most highest crimes and the cops who were involved in them. If people go out, there's two innocent women in prison right now serving time for murder.
What are their names? What are their names?
Melissa Kaluzinski.
Melissa Kaluzinski.
Type
it in. Wait a second. Yeah. My followers, type it in. Say it again. Say their names. Type their names.
It's Melissa Kaluzinski. If anybody goes on YouTube and Googles Melissa Kaluzinski,
spell it.
C-A-L-K-I-S, you will see 9 hours of interrogation by a man who was never a cop against a girl who had a verbal IQ of 70. Right? There's been a lot of news that, and Marty Yang was convicted of killing a pregnant woman for a Chicago Bear, Sean Gale, his girlfriend. But my chief bullied both of those women into confessing by leveraging their children and their family. And it's all documented.
Right. So
This is what happens when you get somebody who was never a cop in a position of authority. I've been talking about this stuff for years.
So then let me just touch on that what you just said. A big part of my messaging is that we need to elect the Supreme Court and break them up into 6 districts. So do you consider someone being appointed as something positive or something negative?
I consider something negative. I think they need to be elected like a sheriff is. You have to remember, like, I've written about this on my website, izzo.us.
Izzo.us, IZZO.us. Everybody go to his website, IZZO.us. We have to take any allies we can. I realize this guy worked as a demon for 20 years. He has seen the light. He has seen the future. And it is not
I wrote a letter to my mayor, 13 pages, outlining multiple incidents of corruption within my department. I had times, dates, statutes, you name it. They got rid of me. So, yeah, and that's all the cover up. I always say, you know what, who's got dirt on who? And it's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's a good old boys club.
Yeah, you know, I talk about this gentleman all the time, Edgar J. Hoover, 1924, head of the FBI for 50 years. How does someone stay in power at the head of the FBI for 50 years? Because he's taking all the information from phone calls, stealing letters, reading them, violating your civil liberties. So now, just to be specific here, because a lot of people are watching. So when you said that he threatened their family to get the testimony out of that person, are you saying that he said that if you don't do the things I want you to do, that I'll prosecute your brother, or prosecute your sister, or arrest your cousin?
He allegedly told Marty Yang that she has a son. She has 3 children, and one of her sons at the time was 15, 16, and my chief had told her in so many words, confess to this, or your son's going to pay the price, go to county, and he's going to get abused there bad. And he used more colorful words than that. It's on videotape. If people look up the Melissa Kaluzinski. Look that up, everybody. She's in prison wrongly. He's telling a mentally handicapped girl, just tell us what happened, and you can go home to your dog. They kept her for 16 hours without a phone call to her family, no bathroom break, no food break, and two men hovered over her and bullied her into confessing over something. There's so much more. Like, if you guys know who Kathleen Zellner is.
I know who Kathleen Zellner is. She's from the Wisconsin.
Yeah, she's representing Melissa Kaluzinski now, and Zellner doesn't take anybody who's not innocent. And Marty Yang has got a defense attorney who produced 700 pages of literal proof that Lake County and my chief and the Major Crimes Task Force screwed her over with false evidence. So it takes a while, but how many people? Lake County, Illinois, is the #1 false convictions county in the nation. It's insane.
So just to kind of.
Here's why. This is something to think about, because everybody's focused on Chicago,
Right.
New York,
Right.
LA. They don't focus on the smaller areas away from all that shit. It's worse in the smaller areas.
Well, you know, a lot of the people who subscribe to this channel, you know, we have read the Mullen Commission. I've read the Mullen Commission aloud on several times. And what it says in the Mullen Commission is that the small areas with the most corruption have the least amount of oversight, and the corruption gets thicker and deeper and darker. So I just want to touch on what Izzo just said. He just said that they were wrongly convicted and they were put in a dungeon, and that they interrogated them for 16 hours. What was the initial stop when they stopped Miss Yang or Melissa? What was the initial stop?
They were active murder investigations. One was the mini Suvi daycare where a toddler stopped breathing, and later on they said his head was crushed. You can Google Melissa Kaluzinski. There is tons and tons and tons of evidence, including the Lake County coroner, who said, no, this was not a murder, this was a pre-existing condition. What they did to him was insane. They got him arrested. I'll say this is an example of how bad law enforcement is. Now remember, I'm squeezing so much information to a short amount of time.
Right.
In 2015, we had on September 1st, 2015, Charles Joseph Glenowitz, 7 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock, keyed up that he was out with 3 subjects. And he didn't respond to his radio. Cops go screaming over there. They find him dead. There's a massive manhunt for 2 months. For 2 months, we're under this giant guise that 3 guys had killed him and gunned him down. It was a national story. The funeral was huge, all this stuff. The investigation was done at my police department. In November of that year, my chief did a national press conference saying that he committed suicide.
Oh.
Now, number one, the day, hour one of that investigation, the sheriff called the coroner and told him, this is a suicide. Don't let anybody tell you different. This is a suicide. The coroner knew that. There's so much in between this, including the FBI being involved, all this shit. Blah.
So wait, the sheriff and the coroner are literally colluding together?
No. They had the right information that he committed suicide. But I want everybody to think about this for a second. Sheriff knew, coroner knew, day one, hour one, the suicide. For 2 months, they spread out an investigation looking for 3 cop killers. Here's why. You people don't get how fucked up corruption is. During that time, they dug up every possible piece of Glenowitz's life to demonize him. Porn sites he was being on, money he borrowed from the Explorers Fund, and they made him seem like he was embezzling all this shit, blah, 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 blah. And I always wonder, if you're in a small town and your police commander kills himself, why are you going to go through 2 months of investigating to drag his name through the mud so bad? 2 reasons. Number one, during that time, they had carte blanche to investigate everybody in the area. Everybody.
Oh.
There's lawsuits out there of my chief swabbing criminals who they knew who had no involvement, but because they had probable cause, reasonable suspicion, they had exigent circumstances, they were looking for a criminal, we're going to swab you for your DNA to try to tie them to other crimes.
Right.
Another aspect is if you dirty a hero cop so bad, you won't look at the other cops in the area.
So what he just said is that because a police chief had been killed by 3 cop killers, that was exigent circumstances. What do we talk about on this channel? We talk about exigent circumstances, how your rights can be suspended over exigent circumstances. Exigent circumstances are when there's a loss of life. When there's a loss of life. That's what exigent circumstances are. You guys just heard retired police officer Dominic Izzo just say that the reason why they could swab people and go and chase them down was because of exigent circumstances. So when there's an exigent circumstance, you lose all of your rights and it gives all of your freedoms to the police, and they will be the arbitrators of whether or not you can be free. So now we kind of went a little bit down the road. Let me pull back just a little bit. Let's go back to, because a lot of people are just regular people. They're not murder suspects. They don't have to deal with anything like that. So they're just a regular human being. They're walking down the road. Officer Izzo Dominic has seen you. He has decided. Go ahead.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
No, you're not regular. What you are is a number, and just because today I can't tie you to a crime, doesn't mean that when it's time to fucking rape the village for more money, I can't find something on you later because of a previous interaction. Maybe you have nothing to do with the crime that just happened, but because you gave me attitude on that stop, I'm gonna start watching your car more. I'm gonna start seeing where you go. It's a fishing expedition. Just because today's victim is tomorrow's offender, and vice versa. Now, people don't understand, unfortunately, the number one reason, in my opinion, why law enforcement went off the tracks so bad is the war on drugs.
Yes.
The war on drugs, the biggest. Yes. It gave me any reason to wind up stopping you. Huge. You get rid of the war on drugs, go back to constitutional policing, there's no problem with law enforcement.
So what he's talking about, if you guys are, I know that a lot of you guys are not new to my channel. You guys have been here before. Terry v. Ohio passes in 1968. In 1971, you think it was Reagan, it was not. It was Richard Nixon who declared war on drugs. So then the combination of cops having the right to run up and grab you because of Terry, and then the war on drugs, we know at least half of every single citizen in America does some kind of drug. Does either Adderall or weed or alcohol. They do some kind of drug. At least half of us. So now 68 cops can grab you, and then what Izzo was just saying, in 71, the war on drugs, then empowers him. And do police get funding based on how many drug arrests you do?
Grants? What? Don't even go that route. send you another shift. They take you out of the brand new Tahoe, put you in the shittiest car out there, kick your report back a million times, all this crap. So, and I'll give you one example. We had a rookie cop who was trying to get his numbers. With our department, you had to get an average of 30-something points a night. And I'm going to give you an example. So if you have to get 35, 36 points a night, and a traffic stop is worth 2 points, a misdemeanor felony arrest is worth 4 points, but a felony arrest is worth 7 points, you're going to go for the higher stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this new officer, and I said this point system would happen, pulls over a vehicle, smells weed, and back then you could search the car for weed,
yeah.
and you could search the entire contents,
yeah.
everybody in the car.
Yeah.
He arrests the driver for kidnapping, searches the passenger. The passenger, I'll say it again.
Arizona versus Johnson. Arizona versus Johnson.
Goes to her purse, finds a single oxycodone pill. She says, yeah, my mom gave that to me last year for back pain. I totally forgot I have it. Puts the bracelets on her, class 4 felony. She goes to bond court in the morning, probably lost her job because she couldn't show up. All for fucking. So it's all.
Oh.
The command staff knows what to do to leverage their obedient boys and girls to wind up giving them what they want.
So it's a video game. Consider it like this for all the folks watching. Consider it like a video game. Once I get my badge from the police academy, then as I drive down the road, my boss, my commander, puts the coins in front of me that I got to run over with my car. You know, like in that old Spy Racer movie, I got to run over the coins. So what Dominic is saying is that they give you 30 coins that you have to collect through the night. If you get charged with a drug crime, that's 4 or 5 coins. If you get a misdemeanor jaywalking, that's 1 or 2 coins. I don't know all the point system, but you start to understand it. So now I want to pull us right back to where we were with this Terry stop. I'm walking down the street. Dominic has decided that I'm a gang member, or maybe I'm wearing a green hoodie. So the guy robbed a store the other day wearing a green hoodie.
If you want to know how I harassed you after this, I'll tell you too. Go ahead.
Amazing, Izzo. So then he decides that I'm a gang member. I'm walking on uneven ground. He says, oh, he's stumbling. He doesn't have any. You guys, real quick, drop down in the comment section where you guys are writing from. Where's everybody from? Pop down in here where you guys are from, right down there in the comment section. Just because I know you guys get stuck watching and but right down in here in your comments, just tell me where you guys are writing from. And then it doesn't cost anything. Just double click that like button for me. Hit that like button with your thumb right down there in the bottom. It doesn't cost you anything. Hit it as many times as you possibly can. I think this is an interview that a lot of people need to see. So Yeah, so I'm walking on the side of the road. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You pull over to the side and say, hey, where are you going? Let me see some ID. And I tell you to go pound sand. And then so you hook me up, put me in handcuffs for your safety.
Now I'm going to call for 2 or 3 other cops. Because now I don't know if you're combative. So now I'm going to intimidate you. But I'll do you one better. My department had gang contacts, which was worth 4 points every night. So now remember, the town I worked in was small. No sidewalks. You're Joe Smith. You're 28 years old. You don't have a job because it's scarce up there.
Scarce.
You live at home. You get out and go for a walk. There's nothing illegal of it. But in your past, when you were 13, 15, 17, you were in a gang. But you're not anymore.
Right.
The system still puts you in as a gang member because it's almost impossible to get out. I have knowledge of you being a gang member. My department used to tell me that you have 4 points for a gang stop. So if I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that week, because we were 3 on, 3 off, and I stop you one of those nights, here's what happens. Hey, Joe, it's good to see you. Do me a favor. I got to take a photo of you, so I have to stop you, take a photo of you, do a gang contact form, pat you down, search you, do a report. I get all my points. I'm off the next 3 days. But the other shift is on. They see you walking down the street again. They're going to do the same harassing shit over and over and over again. When I told my state's attorney about this, because I had an arrest, and I said, yeah, I did a gang contact, blah, 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 blah. State's attorney says, you did what? I said, yeah, we took his photo, blah, blah, blah. Why are you doing that? That's policy what the chief wants. You can't do that. Oh, shit.
Do you get in trouble?
You have no idea.
Do you get in trouble?
We can fuck you.
Do you get in trouble? Now, you pulled me over on the side of the road. You threw me in handcuffs. I was a gang when I was in 14, which means that the older kids put a little tattoo on my hand. I had no choice. And so then now you pulled me over, put me in handcuffs. And now from here, how many times when you do a Terry stop, do those cuffs go on pretty snug? Pretty snug.
I'm not an asshole, so I always think ahead, meaning that if I put you in handcuffs and I crank them down, you lose circulation and they'll get a finger amputated. I'm always thinking, is this going to come back to bite me in the ass or I lose my house and everything? So no, there are some assholes like that out there. I was never. Here's my view: is that once I put the cuffs on you, the fight is done. It's not my job to punish you. It's the court's job to punish you. My job is to address behavior and document it. But yes, there's a lot of cops out there. An extra knee on the back when you're fucking in the handcuffs, the adrenaline. It is very common, but how do you prove that? How are you going to stop?
So
there will be guys who will be sitting in the back of a squad car, undouble cuffed, which means the cuff is not locked down or double locked, and they'll be sitting on their hands for 20, 30 minutes plus.
Oh yeah.
And the hands. That makes me sick. That makes me fucking nauseous.
Well, I mean, Izzo, didn't you ever have to get information out of somebody that you were sure was a gang member, and you just have to just kind of jerk them around by the wrists a little bit till their wrists get mangled?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, because there's ways of talking to people. Again, I was in retail. I was in the nightclub industry. I knew how to talk to people. Let me tell you something about gang members. Gang members together, yeah, they're fucking tough. You get them separated, they'll roll on everybody. So all you had to do is talk to them. You can't promise anybody anything.
Right.
You can lie to them, but there's always a means of talking to somebody. So, no, violence, that never resulted in anything.
What about other cops? Do other cops grab? Because what happened to me a few times when I was put in handcuffs, because I'm not agreeable, they would grab the chain of my cuffs and rip my wrists around by the chain. They would have the chain. Did you ever witness anything like that? Did you see other cops do those kinds?
Of course, 100%. And now, but what's wrong with it? Because what the cop can say is that you were pulling away from him, and what they could feel based on what I could say. Wait a minute, just because you're in handcuffs, does that mean that you're not dangerous anymore? Can you kick and spit and bite? It's all how you articulate shit. And I'm not saying that a lot of times that it's justified or unjustified. I'm not demonizing the cops and I'm not demonizing the people. What I'm saying is, whatever narrative you can spin to benefit you, I can show you the other side of it, how it also benefits law enforcement too, righteously. But yes, there's a lot of shit fucking cops out there. There really are.
So just so you guys know what he just said, I've been put in cuffs 40, 50 times in my lifetime. When police approach me, I'm not agreeable. I usually will tell them to go themselves almost upon interaction. And so... Is
that illegal?
No,
it's not.
Right. But before the camera phone, though, before I was filming them, I would be put in cuffs. I got put in cuffs dozens of times.
Do you want to hear how Officer Go Fuck Yourself can get you arrested?
Sure.
I pull you over for a traffic stop, right? I don't care what you're doing. As far as I'm concerned, traffic citations are a violation. I think it's 14th Amendment, excessive fines.
Equal protection. 6th Amendment, 8th Amendment.
Thank you. If I write you a citation, you got to take the day off work. You got to pay court costs, all that. I believe that's excessive fines. If I stop you and I say, hey, John, how are you? What's going on today? Hey, do me a favor. Give me your license, insurance. I'm going to write you a warning. You were speeding. Slow down. Did I do my job?
Yeah.
I address the problem, right? Here's where cops can turn it into you going into handcuffs. It's called the fuck you ticket, right? Pissing off police. I walk up to the car. Hey, how are you today? License, insurance, please. Go fuck yourself. Okay, I'm gonna write this bitch everything I can find. Everything. Now I pulled you over for speeding, but I'm gonna look. Oh, you got a cracked windshield, citation. Oh, you got a cracked taillight, citation. I'm gonna write you 10 tickets, keep you there for an hour on the stop. Now, when I go up there, right, and I say sign the citation, and you say no, step out of the car. Now you gotta step out of the car. I'm going to escalate it to get you to fuck up so I can arrest you in some way.
Now let's explain the legality. Pennsylvania versus Mims. Pennsylvania versus Mims right here. My phone's mirrored, so it's kind of hard for me. Pennsylvania versus Mims, 1977 case, gives the police the right to order you out of the car. You have to get out of the car. For officer safety. It's an extension of Terry versus Ohio.
Not for any reason whatsoever. They have to be able to articulate there was an officer safety issue. Otherwise, if they go to court, why'd you pull them out of the car? Because I wanted to continue my investigation. Why? Because I couldn't see him. No, officer safety issue. You have to articulate it was for officer safety. Right.
So if you're going to pull me out of the car, you just say, he told me to go kiss off, and then I saw something in the back. I wasn't sure what it was. So just for my safety, I wanted to pull him out of the car. And then what he's talking about, the reason why police can pull you over at all, is a 1913 case called Hendrick versus Maryland. Right here, Hendrick versus Maryland. This is what allows police officers in every state in the union to be able to pull you over. It was a Supreme Court holding that said that every different state, every different state can then. So now I want to always go back to the Terry stop. So retired police officer Dominic Izzo, his Instagram and his TikTok is posted here at the top of the chat. Please make sure you follow him. He's spitting the truth here. And so like we understand now that I can be stopped because you saw me. I can be stopped. You can create anything you want. You can get me in the car, just create it. If you want to search my car, you can just do it. There's no barriers to how much freedom can be taken away from me if you just decide. Is that correct so far?
Wow. As long as I can articulate it. As long as I can articulate it. 100%.
God bless it. Okay, so now listen. So now I get arrested for obstructing justice because I won't give you my ID and you think you have reasonable articulable suspicion. You take me to the dungeon, but there's no charges against me, Dominic. And so now you take me to the dungeon, you've charged me with obstructing, it's not gonna stick, right? So I go to the dungeon on Friday, I get out on Monday, released on my own recognizance. But now if you're not gonna file that obstructing justice charge, what happens to me if I had to bond out or if I had to spend the weekend in jail?
I'm always going to file it because once I put you in cuffs, I had better cover my ass on everything. I don't care if it gets tossed out. I'm not only going to charge you with that, I'm going to pad it as every illegal thing that I can find. Now remember, look at it this way. DUIs. If in Illinois, if you don't have a rear license plate light, that's probable cause. Now, and we use that all the time. I can't tell you how many DUIs, and I'll always justify it. Getting drunks off the streets, that's huge for me, huge. But where does it go, right? I'm going to stop you because your license plate light is out. I smell the odor of alcoholic beverage on your breath. You blow in the PBT. You fail field sobrieties, which are a joke because even sober, I can't do those balances.
I can't either.
It's ridiculous. But also my department says that prior to towing the vehicle, I have to do a search for inventory purposes.
South Dakota versus Opperman. South Dakota versus Opperman, a 1976 case, which is an extension of Terry versus Ohio. He's telling you the actual application of South Dakota versus Opperman. He has to do an inventory, which is actually a warrantless search of your vehicle. But Dominic here can search all through your vehicle and inventory it. It's a clear violation of our civil liberties. Go ahead, Dom. Sorry for interrupting.
Do you think that I'm searching it for inventory purposes?
No.
Or I'm looking for more contraband?
Just a pill. Just one pill. A Tic Tac. A Tic Tac that you can say.
Because now there's discretion, right? Let's just say, for argument's sake, you've been great on the stop here, DUI. I gotta write you. I'm gonna write you. I'm gonna give you an I-bond, all this kind of stuff. But what if you're a dick? Now you've bruised my ego. I'm going through that car, and if I find a seed on your car, then this is where people don't get it, right? If I find a seed in your car, I'm gonna now charge you with cannabis. I know that's getting dropped. I know it's getting dropped. But in Illinois, if somebody runs your criminal history from 3-4 months later, it's not listed that you were arrested for cannabis. Like if you go for a new job interview,
right?
Because if you go for a job interview and the guy was arrested for what? For cannabis. Okay, not a problem. You serve
Okay, so
The entire system fucks everybody.
So Izzo took it a step further than I was actually going. But I'm not just, that was amazing, Izzo, because he took it from here to what's going to happen to you in a month or two. And what I was just going for was the short term. So now that we know that month or two long term, right? You pull me over, you found a seed in the back of my car. You don't know what kind of seed it is. It's actually a daisy seed, but you think it's a marijuana seed, so you arrest me for marijuana. And now my car gets impounded, searched. I go to the dungeon, and I'm in there on Friday, and I don't want to stay in the dungeon, so I'm going to bond out. That's going to cost me $1,000. Right? So now I got to get my car to impound. That's $800, $600, $400, $300. Depends on where you live.
Plus admin fee, plus village admin fee, which is basically like a cover charge for a bar. You got to pay another $300 to the village before you go to the tow company and get your car out. And if you can't afford, and people have to think about this. If I stop you for an emissions violation, your license is valid, but your emissions is not. You go to the village says it's $300, sir. You don't have it. Now your car sits in impound for a week. You finally come up with that $300. It's a $300 tow fee plus every single day it's been on the lot. You can't afford to get your car out. You lose your job. You go through the cycle. You have to drive now illegally back and forth to work. People don't get how bad the laws fuck with the lives of the citizens, and the cops are punished by do this, or your department policy, or your evaluation form goes down, and blah blah. And people don't get how bad if you change the laws, you change the way that the police are able to go back to community policing, respond to what matters, crimes in progress, domestic batteries, battery shootings, all the responsive shit, proactive policing. When anybody says that broken windows theory, go fuck your mother. I think that's the biggest horse shit on the planet.
It's right there. So just so you guys know, Izzo and I have never met before today. We've never met before today. What's the name of my website? Delete Laws. Izzo just said that when you take away the law that allows the police to interact with you, it changes the policing apparatus. So that's why I am called Delete Laws. We have to delete these Terry laws and delete these laws. And so now, Izzo, now there's two more questions I have for you. I don't want to take up your whole day, but I have two more questions that are going to be really pertinent to people who follow this channel. Okay, number one, I'm a huge proponent of creating checks and balances on police. A third-party agency for policing, a third-party agency for district attorneys and judges. And people will say, oh, we can't afford that. There's not enough money in the kitty. How much waste is done through policing where you got a dozen cops standing around at a scene? Could we fire 1/3 of all cops?
You ever look at it this way, not just Chicago, but you ever seen 2, 3, 4, 5 squad cars behind one car?
Yeah.
You ever see one person stop on the side of the road and 4 other cops around them?
Yes.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm 5'7". I'm 210 pounds. I'm 46. My partner, and I'm Italian, so I got an attitude. My partner was another Italian. He was only 5'5", 60 years old, brick shithouse. We knew that all we had to say to people was, listen, just behave. And our attitude and our demeanor would tell you, don't challenge us, but we're not going to hurt you. We barely ever went hands-on because we showed so much fucking respect. But when you get 4, 5, 7 cops against 1 or 2 people, those cops are looking for you to fuck up so they can pile on you because they're fucking bored. Cops more often than not, and the younger ones, I've got so many examples of stupid police officers who will be at lunch, who will be on camera in the Sally Port of the jail. Yeah, that was an awesome fight.
You mean against people who are saying, please, no, sir, please, sir, no, stop punching me, sir. I mean, a lot of my people...
I did a video 3 years ago that Now This put up and went viral. And in the academy, we are trained to say, sir, stop resisting for a reason. Your natural body is meant to cover up and shit like this, right?
Yes.
So when I have you down on the ground,
right,
and I'm pounding the fuck out of you, are you going to automatically relax and give me your arm?
You're going to cover.
So what we say is, sir, stop resisting instead more than two cops. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm a martial arts expert. I've been training for years. I am 100% a proponent of the rear naked choke because it will end issues. Now, I'm going to tell you, it will, trained properly, will put people in cuffs faster than anything, right? But when you have cops who are not trained, now you have them using more force than necessary because they don't know how to put people in handcuffs. That's where you have the baton brought out, the taser, the pepper spray. Again, I'll go back to it. The more properly you are trained, the less force you use. And it takes 1 to 2 cops to put somebody in cuffs versus a pit bull.
Well, so you're getting into a couple things so Dom, I also am trained. I taught MMA for a lot of years. I fought in the world champions of Ken Shamrock, Guy Metzger, Chuck Liddell. I fought in their fight camps as a guy who would fight them, right? So now I know the rear naked choke. I teach it. But for you to come on here and say that you endorse the rear naked choke, I'd like you to go through your thoughts and re-examine your position. We have seen now.
If you were a cop and you had that training, I'd be 100% fine with you doing it. 100% fine. The problem is, ask me how often cops are trained or have to do annual certification. Just because I'm okay with it doesn't mean I want it on the street because you don't have things executed properly. And we could talk about firearms training. Do you think that every single cop should achieve a perfect score with their firearm on the range?
No, I think they should be disarmed, all of them. Take away all of their guns.
My point is, we only have a pass or fail on the range.
Right.
Too many cops can't fucking shoot. So if they can't shoot, they can't apply tactics properly. It's such a slippery slope. I like a tactic, doesn't mean, and again, I'll be careful about my words. I endorse it because I know how safe it is. But
Endorse what? Endorse what, Dom?
The rear naked choke. And it's a whole different article, a whole different conversation.
What are you talking about, Dom? What are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? What in the flying are you talking about? You can't go on here and talk about killing people using a rear naked choke and say that you endorse it. Because what happens is, Dom, we got that piece of garbage in New York, who I don't even say his name, I don't give him any fame, who choked out Eric Garner on film, and he's still a cop. If you have
It's a whole different topic, and I'll go by this. It's like I said, could you apply the rear naked choke to me without killing me?
I know how, I'm a trained freaking fighter, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. In a perfect world, Dom, if I got you in a real naked choke and I was lucky enough to get in that position in a one-on-one fight, then maybe I could apply it so I don't choke you out or kill you. However, when you put your arms around someone's neck and another guy wearing blue runs up and jumps on top of you, if he jumps on my back and I crush like this on top of you,
I will agree with you.
It's just like this abortion law. Once you pass the abortion law in Texas, a girl who got raped, a girl who got gang raped, a girl who has a baby that's gonna kill her, once you pass the absolute, I mean, Dom, you've only been out of policing for a couple years, but the idea let me just take a breath. So let me understand something here, okay? When I watch a fight, when I watch a cops trying to do this ridiculously bumbling thing like put your hands behind your back, which is the most retarded stupidity I've ever seen. We live in a digital era. I can walk up to me, even if I'm in a fist fight with someone on the street and go like, yo dude, you're on camera, I'm a cop, I'm recording you, I'm gonna show this to the judge. That changes all of detainment policies. That changes everything. The reason why cops now get arrested for breaking our civil liberties isn't because policing is better, it's because of the camera. So you no longer need to choke people out. You know, they arrested Eric Garner for selling Lucy cigarettes and they murdered him with a rear naked choke. I literally cried for a week, like sobbed for a man I never knew and never will meet. And so the idea that you would endorse something that's so barbaric.
We're not going to agree on everything. So it's like I'm going from a perspective of what could have made a cop's job easier.
I don't give a fuck I don't want to make a cop's job easier. I don't give a shit about that cop. I want to film that cop.
You want the cop's job easier when it comes down
choking me.
If necessary. If we could, this is splitting hairs at this point. My point is, in a perfect world, to level the playing field, I would want the best trained people out there on the planet. I would want, in every aspect of it, laws, tactics, you name it. It's not going to happen. It's just in a perfect world scenario.
So, but the thing is, Dom, is that I have fought 1,000 guys in my life, far more. Before I was 20 on the street, I fought hundreds. So I've been in hundreds of fistfights, right? There's no such thing as a fair rear naked choke. There's no such thing as doing it right. Once you put your arms around someone's throat and you start to cut the oxygen off to the brain, you are talking about brain damaging someone because you want to be in control of them. When the truth is, we don't have defensive apparatus created for policing. We don't have bulletproof shields that they can carry and they go, hey, you're on camera, guys, stop fighting. And those guys decide to keep fighting. We show it to the judge. We get the barbarians off the street. People come on here all the time and say, oh, you're for... No, I'm for rule of law. I'm for rule of order. What I'm not for, though, is a violent, vicious apparatus to enforce that rule of law, that rule of order. So you kind of...
Police can enforce. It all goes back to changing the laws what police can enforce. Because again, if cops can arrest you for a baggie of weed, right? And this is how this escalates. People don't get. I have to get my points for that night. I know you're a gang member. I've never smoked weed, but I agree it's the most harmless shit on the planet, right? You've got it on you. I need those points. You give me attitude. I say put your hand behind your back. You resist me. It escalates all the way up to these problems.
Right.
That's the problem. You have to change what cops enforce if you want change done.
So I got a video coming out in the next couple weeks here where it shows that interaction. You pull me over and we have this interaction and you say, hey, you got to do this. And I say, no, eat it, right? My perspective is that you put a camera in their face and you go, listen, I'm not going to stop you. You can drive off if you want. What I am going to do is I'm going to radio ahead to watch your car and then I'm going to turn this into the judge. And he's going to hammer you if you leave right now. I'm not even going to chase you. You can go off. I'm going to radio ahead and the cameras ahead are going to watch you driving. And then when I go to...
What they'll say now is between your driving off and they're going to look at it as my failure to enforce something. If you go off and kill somebody in between point A and point B, they're going to pin that on me as liability. That's their justification now for stopping shit. That's why you don't get cops. I've been disciplined. I've been disciplined for stopping Joe Smith, who I know is suspended, and he's 4 blocks from his home. He can't afford to pay the court costs to get his license reinstated, but he still has to work. And I just happened to stop him. Shit, I gotta fucking arrest you, because if you leave the scene and you cause an accident, a minute later, my department is gonna fire me, charge me, do everything. It's amazing. Officer discretion is gone for 2 reasons. The department fucks with the cop, and cops are too stupid to articulate it.
So what he's saying right here is that he has to arrest you and take you to a dungeon. There's no in between. Earlier in the year, people talked about bringing counselors in and social workers as using a policing apparatus. And I think that's the best idea ever, because when Dom goes to a domestic dispute, often you don't need to arrest the guy or need to arrest the woman. You need to have a counselor or a therapist, right?
Okay, I'll tell you, they made it, so yes, you do.
You have to, right? You have to.
Well, we have to continue this. We can talk about domestics on now. Every single time somebody goes to a domestic, the days of, hey man, do you got another place to stay tonight, are long gone.
You have to arrest them. You have to arrest them. So,
I'll tell you, so I'll finish with this, but let's do this again.
No, I got one more question, and then one more question after this.
I went to domestic between you and your girlfriend, whoever.
Right.
And the law says if there is a visible sign of physical contact, you must, capital MUST, arrest. If I show up, she's bitching, you're calm, I have to detain one of you or both of you. Call the state's attorney, review everything with them, and have them make the decision. Because I'm not going to let you stay, let you leave, or whatever, because if you go back and kill her, or she kills you or something, I'm going to go to jail. They made it so shitty within the department that 100% of the time, even on a verbal domestic, somebody's going in cuffs. Doesn't mean you're going to get charged, because we're going to go all the way to the state and say, hey, this is what I got. Okay, charge him. Okay, don't. But always, because the cops want to get rid of liability, because the department's going to fuck them over bad.
So just so you know, last year, everybody, and I'm going to go to the last question for Izzo after this, but last year a friend of mine called me from Hollywood and he said, hey, my girlfriend just went crazy on me. She hit me in the ear. I'm bleeding. He said, she's called the police and said that I'm beating her on the phone. She said, in front of me, my boyfriend's beating me. And he said, what should I do? And I said, grab your bag and leave immediately. Get out of there now. The cops are coming. They're going to arrest you. You will go to jail tonight, and I won't be able to get you out till Monday. Get out of there. The cops came and they wanted to arrest him, but he wasn't there. So what Izzo is saying here, Dominic Izzo, retired police officer from Chicago, Milwaukee area, he's saying that if there's a domestic call, if you call the police on your boyfriend or girlfriend, and now that all of you know that, you know the rules, if your boyfriend or girlfriend makes you too mad because they cheat on you or whatever, then you'll just call up and say, oh, he's beating on me or she's beating on me.
I don't mean to be sexist. I really don't mean to be sexist, but in the 90s, domestics went from a releasable offense at night to having to hold over to bond court the next day because too many men were going back that night after sobering up and killing their spouses.
Beating their wives, killing them.
Again, I'm not trying to be sexist. Women know how to play the system. They know. Their boyfriend's playing PlayStation and they're not giving them attention. They're going to scratch themselves, call the police. Look what he did to me. You're going to jail.
That's right.
I can't tell you how many times I have proof that happened.
I can't tell you how many hundreds of direct messages I've gotten from men who have told me that my girlfriend said I hit her and now I'm facing domestic. What can I do? I'm talking hundreds. So then let me. So then this will be my last question, and Dom and I will set up another time. You guys, real quick, just tap your like button real quick as fast as you can. Tap that like button real fast as you can. Just hit your like button, and then drop down in the comment section exactly where you're watching from. Drop down in the comment section exactly where you're watching from. And then Izzo, here's the last question I have for you. So you don't know it yet, right? But I do. I've been doing this for a long time. You're about to get a lot of attention, especially because you came on my channel and the people who are my subscribers, and I subscribe to them. I don't have any followers. We're mutual subscribers. We want to change policing from top to bottom. So why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself as a target?
Oh, this is not the first time. I ran for Cook County Sheriff in Chicago on this platform, police reform. I was on the Young Turks, and Cenk and I had a conversation. You could just Google Dominic Izzo and Cenk.
Okay.
You're going to see he was blown out of the water that I proved that systemic racism in law enforcement exists, but not the way you think. Blacks are farmed.
Black people. Black people.
They're 100% farmed for jails. There's no question. So I've been doing this for quite a while. I put a target on my back in 2016. I have a ton of cops who hate me. And always what happens, here's what happens. Cops, fuck you, Blue Falcon, this is why you're on law enforcement, and then I'll get months later or years later, hey, sorry for what I said to you, but can I get some advice? My department fucked me over. So to be honest, I support community policing, which is a redundant term, because law enforcement policing should be community. I support righteous cops by the Constitution. I know Sheriff Richard Mack and the Constitutional Peace Officers Association. I know personally Sheriff Joe Arpaio. We support the Constitution. Getting back to this, getting away from this. Some of these traffic laws, yes, they're designed
against black people. Against black people.
Well, any one of you, open up your vehicle code. There's not, you put the key in your car, I can find anything to stop you for. Their justification is designed to prevent accidents. They give all the cops the tools in probable cause to screw you over every way possible. If we go back to looking at the laws, if we hire the right candidates if any cop is 21, fuck that. A cop should be 30 years old.
Yeah.
Have real world experience.
Yeah.
I don't want some 25-year-old showing up to a domestic with no life experience You have
Right.
to monitor your candidacy. I think that cops should have liability insurance.
Yes.
Liability insurance.
Yes.
I think that you need to reevaluate the laws that they wind up enforcing, and you're going to see a massive change. So I don't give a rat fuck that I'm a target, because it's always how it has been. But I love the profession. I loved what it really meant, and it's just going down a shit dark path.
Should we overturn Terry versus Ohio?
For Terry stops.
Yeah.
From a citizen's point of view, yeah. From a cop's point of view, I can.
Right.
No, you know what? No.
Right.
Yes, because here's why. The instances where some cop will say, well, because of Terry versus Ohio, I stopped a guy who had a 14-year-old girl handcuffed in the trunk of his car, is severely outnumbered by the bullshit drug arrests that are out there.
Right.
If you scale where Terry versus Ohio benefited the community versus where it raped the community.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's one arm amputated. It's this versus the other. There's no arm. You guys do me a favor. Follow Izzo IZZO315. Follow IZZO315 both on Instagram and on TikTok. He also has a website, DominicIzzo.com. Is that right? DominicIzzo.com.
Izzo.us. We have a live show. I do a live radio show 5 nights a week. I talk about this stuff. I'm the police liaison for RT America. I wrote a book. I'm always asked to speak in documentaries on panels and stuff because I love law enforcement, but we got some problems. Some problems.
We need checks and balances. You guys, everybody, give him a round of applause if you could. Drop him a few likes if you would. Drop him a few likes. Follow his channel. Izzo, thank you for your time, man. Even when I got tough with you about the chokes, you still stood in the fire.
But that's what should happen. We should have opposing positions and viewpoints. And if I can't listen to your argument, then anything I say is shit. I want to hear what you have to say because right now, my stance, and we'll just use Joko, right? Right now, my stance is no, I endorse the rear naked choke. But maybe you say something that's going to cause me to, I see his view.
Right.
And hopefully over time, if I'm an open-minded person,
That's right.
It's going to cause me to reevaluate it.
That's
I
right.
want that stuff. I don't care if I disagree with you. I want to know more. I want to learn more.
All right, you guys, go by my website, Delete Laws, pick up my ebook, go by Stop Izzo. Thank you, Izzo, so much for your time. We'll say goodbye to Izzo, and I will see you guys. I'll stay on my live for a few minutes, take a few questions, and then Izzo, we'll hit you back on DM. All right, brother?
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, brother. Later. So there it is, guys. There it is.